everybody. Karen Roby here for Tech Republic and ZDNet. Excited today to be joined by two guests, the University Provost and VP of Academic Affairs, Dr. Nancy Schreiber. Nancy, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure.
Also, we have Irving Bruckstein. He is the CIO for Salve Regina University. And Irv, thanks for being with us. This is such an odd time as we're all adjusting to working from home and kids are learning at home. And for universities such as yours, this has had to be, I'm sure, a very difficult time where you've had to just pivot quickly to an e-learning experience. And Irv, as the CIO, we're going to talk to you in just a second about some of the technical side of this and what's involved. But for you, Dr. Schreiber, talk a little bit about how this is, what does this look like? How difficult has this been to make such a quick change, such a short amount of time?
Well, it really has been remarkable. We had 16 days and we converted 817 undergraduate courses and 90 graduate courses to a remote learning environment. And part of our success, besides what we're going to talk about today, the incredible collaboration with IT, our faculty in this particular university community is small, and that really helped us be adaptive and flexible. So we really went to our faculty and said, this is what we're going to have to do. Here are some tools and some resources and some support. And they delivered. And it's remarkable because we are a traditional residential liberal arts institution, and we had no online courses at the undergraduate level. So, people talk about the speed at which higher ed changes. Well, we've sort of proven them wrong. In 16 days, we've been able to really, really ramp up and really help our students adjust to what professional life is going to look like, because look at all the professional folks right now having to pivot themselves at home.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating to know you didn't have the undergrad online courses up and then have gone to a completely virtual environment. That's pretty fascinating. And talk a little bit about this, Irv, as the CIO, and a virtual environment takes a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. Talk a little bit about the collaboration tools that you're using and how you've rolled those out to the students and the faculty.
Certainly. So thank you for having us, Karen. I would start by saying the only reason we were able to be so successful was because of the tremendous partnership between IT and the Provost's office and the entire faculty body. We had some good foundational technology in place that we had to very rapidly scale up. So our learning management system is Canvas, which is hosted in the cloud. For synchronous learning, we transitioned our video conferencing tool, which is a very secure and highly scalable tool from Cisco, WebEx, to use for synchronous learning. And then we worked individually with various academic departments who had unique needs. We had to be creative. Our rule was very simple. Not a single student, faculty member, or administrator would be left behind as we transitioned to virtual Salve. So we took our entire IT staff and we repurposed them. They were all on the front lines to assist with transition of students and faculty. That turned out to be a very tiring 2-week effort. We literally worked around the clock, but we managed to get everyone online before we resumed our classes after the spring semester. Two fundamental tools, as I said, were WebEx and Canvas LMS. And for secure access to our on-premises data center, we used VPN technology from Cisco Systems. For cybersecurity, which was a real critical component, one of our foundational tools is Darktrace. And we have the entire suite of Darktrace here at Salve Regina. So we're using it for intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, as well as the new Antigena email offering, which proved quite pivotal in allowing us to counter the change in cyber threats that we experienced when we transitioned to a remote mode of operations.
And talk a little bit about that, if you would, because cybersecurity is obviously it's so important, and not everyone even understands just what a significant threat is out there and we're all, vulnerable to a certain extent to it, especially when we're moving to all online learning and people working from home and setups like that. Talk a little bit about, with the tools that you're using, specifically what that has been like in terms of getting the message out about phishing attacks and things like that that people maybe didn't really have on their radar before.
Sure. Well, we're very fortunate that we have a very robust cybersecurity defense as well as incident response plan here. And we use a layered mechanism of defense to protect our on-campus environment. And it's gotten to the point that that is so good between our firewalls, our internal monitoring tools, that most of our biggest threats now are the phishing attacks that we get. So these are what I categorize in the broad topic of social engineering, because the cyber criminals can't get into our environment or on-premise environment very easily. They've taken to tricking our user community into giving up their credentials, their passwords, their login IDs, other personally identifiable information so that they could then break into their accounts. So some of the tools that we've used to inform our community in advance of this transition is a tool called Know Before. So we use that to actually pretend that we in IT are the cyber criminals trying to phish our community. That goes a long way for raising awareness. Folks that will click on the link, other mechanisms that cyber criminals will use now that some organizations like Salve are very hardened, is they'll actually come onto your campus and try and attack you from inside. They'll leave malware on a key fob, drop it on a cafeteria table. So we simulate those types of activities to see how our community responds. Anyone that takes a malicious fob and inserts it, anyone that clicks on one of our links for phishing, we will then bring them all together and give them an informational session to make them aware of what they did. That training has proven to be very valuable, but still nothing is foolproof. And as we've transitioned now to people working from home, they don't necessarily have the benefit of a very tightly configured machine that they would get if they were using a university computer. Not everybody is issued one. So that has resulted in some machines that were compromised now accessing our secure network through our VPNs. Fortunately, Darktrace has performed very admirably for us. So that has a machine learning, artificial intelligence engine that baselines our environment. It understands what normal behavior is and what abnormal or risky behavior is. Because the cyber criminals are getting very sophisticated in using automated tools to attack, having a tool like Darktrace is the only way you can counter that. So as we shifted to the new mode of operation with people remote, our Darktrace system basically re-baselined us almost in real time, very quickly gave us the ability to have the same functionality that we had when everybody was working on campus. And we also, as we transitioned, we turned on the Antigena email engine, which was really crucial. So with Antigena email, it will observe how everyone in our environment that's in its field of view writes. It'll look at writing styles and say, okay, I understand how Irv writes his email. So if you were to try to impersonate me, it would know that I didn't actually write that email. So that would allow that to be flagged and actually not be presented out to our community. So having a layered defensive tools, Darktrace being a key foundational element, really positioned us quite well for maintaining cybersecurity within our environment as we transitioned. Also having had pre-prepared for having good incident response, we follow the NIST framework, and we've also just completed our affirmation process for being compliant with the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. All of that preparation really paid off big time for us as we transitioned to virtual Salve.
Excellent. And Dr. Schreiber, when you talk about this virtual environment and asking students and that this is what we're going to have to move to, we don't have a choice, as everyone in this country has had to go on lockdown and leave dorms and leave our businesses and work in our homes. What have been the biggest challenges that you guys have had to overcome as far as getting students where they need to be and getting the faculty where they need to be. Obviously, we have to be gracious with each other and be patient and as we work through this. But what have been some of the difficulties you faced along the way?
Yeah, I think, you know, we have a very rich community here, rich in the sense of connections and relationships. And when you move remotely, of course, you fear losing that intimacy, that ability to obtain faculty mentorship, to do research, to do all the things that we can do so well in a small environment here in Newport, Rhode Island. And so that was our biggest fear. And we built Virtual Salve not just with an academic component, but with a co-curricular component. So IRF's shop has had to manage not just the academics, but all kinds of co-curricular activities and events that we're putting online. So we've tried to replicate the personal feel of this campus remotely, which is challenging, and we've done it differently than most universities. Most universities have just said, "Oh my gosh, we've got 6 weeks, you know, left of the semester. Let's throw these courses online and get through it." That has not been Salve's approach because it's not who we are as an institution. And so we've really tried to really remotely put the campus, if you will, online. And I think we've gotten incredibly positive feedback from the vast majority of our students on both our efforts to do this, as well as the kind of learning that they're engaged in right now. I would say that the need for continuous improvement is really in the connection. We've got some faculty who are more senior in their career and aren't comfortable with technology and treat it a little bit less synchronously than perhaps we would like, because we feel the synchronous allows for that connection and that relationship building a little bit better than asynchronous. So all in all, it's been a great experience. Our students have had empathy for our faculty. I get notes saying, "Thank you so much, Dr. So-and-so, because I know how much work this is for you." So we really have a great story to tell. It's not without bumps, but we also know that we're not done with this. And we are in the midst of planning all the various scenarios for next year, because we know, sadly, that COVID is not going away. And but I kind of hold it up to some of the values that we want to give our students, which is resiliency, preparation for adulthood, and managing in a crisis. And I think that we've really come together as a community to do that, Karen.
That would be my final question to you is, and you touched on this a little bit, but I'm sure you have people asking you all the time and sending you emails saying, "Is this going to be our new normal? Is this what we can expect?" And I'm sure there's you know, uncertainty all over the place here right now what things are going to look like. But do you see that this will be a good bit of what people can expect as they move into the fall semester?
Yeah, you know, we haven't made the decision whether we're coming back as a campus. We will be taking our lead on health and safety from the Department of Health of Rhode Island and our governor. But we are preparing because I don't want to go back to the faculty with 16 days notice and say, "Oh, by the way, we're not coming back." So we are preparing for all kinds of scenarios, including hybrid learning. Perhaps students come back and unfortunately we have to send them back home. And very realistically, they come to campus and we sadly have folks that get ill and we have to quarantine them on campus and they can't attend class. So we are working with IT to help us develop some of those on-campus solutions for social distancing. Our optimism is that we will be back in the fall, but we will have social distancing requirements that are going to require adjustments that will help, again, to continue with the use of technology.
Very good. So many different factors here at play. You guys, I really appreciate both of you being here with us today to talk about this. And it certainly sounds like your virtual environment is up and running beautifully, and you've made the transition really well here to what has become our new normal, at least for right now. So thank you again for being with us. Much, much more, everyone there on Tech Republic, and we hope you check it out. Thanks so much for watching today.